Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And my husband is on his way home from work, and I am finishing up my day of filming videos before I sit down with a cup of coffee to film my vlog, and then relax tonight, watch some TV shows, and read and stuff. So I thought that I would end my day by reading a Melody Beatty meditation. Haven't looked at these in the last 2 days, so I thought that I would bring them out today and see what she had to say to us to get us started for the weekend. Tomorrow is Friday, the beginning of the weekend, as well as Valentine's Day. Okay, let's get into February 13th. See what she has to say to us today. Are y'all ready? Trusting ourselves. Oh, this is a good one, maybe. What was yesterday's? Letting go of those not in recovery, divinely led. Okay, so today's is trusting ourselves. And then let me look at Journey to the Heart and see which one is in here. Did I put January or is that February? No, February. Okay. Oh, tomorrow's is called Valentine's Day, actually. Okay, February, 13th. I pulled it right up into it. Don't let people put thoughts in your head. Well, maybe we'll do both of these. Let's see if I can get to both of these. Okay. The language of letting go. Trusting ourselves, February 13th. What a great gift we've been given ourselves. To listen to ourselves, to trust instinct and intuition, is to pay tribute to that gift. What a disservice not to heed the leadings and leanings that so naturally arise from within. When will we learn that these leadings and leanings draw us into God's rich plan for us? We will learn. We will learn by listening, trusting, and following through. What is it time to do? What do I need to do to take care of myself? What am I being led to do? What do I know? Listen, and we will know. Listen to the voice within. Today I will listen and trust. I will be helped to take action when that is needed. I can trust myself with God. This is such an interesting meditation, and it's so interesting where my mind is going with this, so just bear with me, okay? And I know that this is not something that everybody relates to, but I'm just going to kind of share my story with this. So this idea of listening to your gut and going with your instinct inside is something that I have really I've tried to harbor for years and years and years of listening to myself and really I can remember in making some very serious decisions in my life. When my ex and I were together and it was nearing the end of our relationship, I very much kind of felt like, I think it's kind of over. I'm not really sure, which later he told me he felt the same way. But I wasn't sure because he was my best friend, and I just was so afraid, and I thought we would be together forever. I don't know, And I can remember at that time, it's weird that I very consciously made this decision. I at that time was somebody that, and I still am, that I go to my, he would have been my partner, but today I go to my husband, my best friend, my sponsor, a couple other people when I'm going through stuff and kind of ask them for feedback. What should I do? What would you do in this situation? My cousin Caroline sometimes. It kind of now depends on if those people have gone through similar situations. I'll ask them, right? Back then, I had 3 or 4 people that I would ask things through, we're going through a really hard time. I mean, people knew it, right? They knew that things were tough with us. And so I was talking to 3 or 4 people, and I can remember at the point where I got to, it was around Thanksgiving time, that I got to the point where I was because we broke up the first week of December. And it was around Thanksgiving time. And I was if I make this decision, this is a decision that I have to make on my own. I have to trust my instincts on this. I don't want this to be a situation that 2 months later, I'm to my friend Tanya, Tanya, I talked to you about this. Now I regret it. I shouldn't have done this, blah, blah, blah. But you thought that maybe we should break up or whatever. I didn't want to have had those conversations. I didn't want to lean on anybody. So I just trusted my gut in that moment. And I think that it really, really led me to where I needed to go with that situation. I think he would say the same thing, I mean, months later when we talked about it, he was I was in the same place you were, but I just didn't have the words to say it. In those moments when I have really trusted my instincts and my guts, which when you really think about it, I think we think it's some weird sixth sense kind of thing, but sixth sense kind of thing, but it really isn't. Our instincts and our guts are really based on previous situations that we've gone through, previous experiences that we've had, what we've lived in our life before, what we've gone through before in our life, and how we've gotten to the other side. That's where our gut instincts typically come from. It's red flags, green flags about things that we've gone through. If you've dated somebody that was an asshole and treated you horribly, and you're dating somebody again and you're having red flags, it's probably because those are reminders of where you went before. So gut feelings and instincts are not necessarily some weird sixth sense. A lot of times these are reminders of your past. These are reminders of what you've lived through before, right? The problem today, okay, well, not so much today, but I still fight it on a daily basis, is that I also have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And for years and years and years, I struggled with having OCD. I mean, I've struggled with it all my life. It goes up, it ebbs and flows. And a couple years ago, after the accident, it got really, really bad, which was when I started working on it. I think it was like, it's been a while now that my therapist and I started working on it. But those thoughts that I had in my head of, oh, this is going to happen, or this is going to be, I mean, I still have these thoughts today, right? Like, oh, this is like, don't say that, don't manifest that. If you say this, then it'll happen. If you do this, it's a gut feeling, it's an instinct, whatever. To decipher between what the truth was, the truism in myself, and when you have OCD, I'm just sharing my experience. To me, it felt like I was going crazy at times. And so to have these crazy thoughts in your head, at the same time to counterbalance that with like what your instinct is, it's hard to find the truth in that sometimes. Because the thoughts in your head are telling you to go against what your instinct in your gut is. Or sometimes your instinct in your gut becomes a ritual. It's like, you have to go with this, you have to go with that, you have to go with this. So it has been a challenge, I would say, in the last 5 years of me finding my truth and my instinct inside myself again, of trying to find what truly is my heart and my head telling me to do, you know, and aligning those two. I think that if I could give any suggestions to people, when you're going through tough things in life, I think in the past, one of the things I've done is I've already made up my mind. Now I'm seeking out approval from people that I care about. So I'm going to people until I hear the one person that tells me what I want to hear. That's something that I did in my past a lot. I think we all know people that do that. I think many of us done that ourselves at times, where it's like, should I move? Should I move? Should I move? And then you talk to somebody and they're like, well, I don't know. I probably wouldn't move if I were in a situation, but you want to move. You've already made that decision up, right? So you go to your next friend and your friend's like, well, why do you really want to move? Like, you're, you know, then you go to your next friend and your friend's like, yeah, I think I would move too. And you're like, yeah, right? Like, and then you're like, oh, Sally told me to move. Like, she gets it. She agrees with me, right? Then, of course, Sally is the voice of reason. I think we've done that for a long time. And I've done that for many years in my life until probably the breakup with my ex. And then I had to work on it, you know, through the years after that. And what I learned was that I really had to focus on what my internal voice was telling me. I didn't want to lean on anybody else for major decisions in my life. That doesn't mean that I don't go to my husband, that I don't go to my best friend, that I don't go to my sponsor, and I don't go to other people in my life to ask them suggestions. But I don't base my decision solely on their suggestions. You know, I listen to what they have to say. I take it in. You know, I look at it, and then I make my decision based on all the information that I have. Because I have to be the one at the end of the day that makes those decisions, because I'm going to live with the congratulations or the consequences. I'm going to be the one that lives with it. Nobody else, you know? So I have to think about that. So I think it really is important to listen to your own voice, you know, and you know yourself better than anybody else does, right? So when you, especially if you have people telling you around you, you need to do this, you need to do that, whatever. I think it's always important to take a look at that. Like I've said for years, you know, a friend is somebody that will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. If a friend is telling you, or a spouse or a partner, something that you need to work on, listen to it. But at the end of the day, like, that's something that you have to work on yourself. My sponsor has said to me many times, this is an opportunity for change or growth. Are you going to take it? Sometimes I'm not ready to. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not ready to do that work yet. But I'm honest about it. I'm honest about not being ready yet, or not willing to, like, you know, like, that's not something that I want to work on right now in my life. And I think that's where you have to get to that point where you listen to your instinct. What is right for me next? What is my next move? And I think once you start trusting your instinct, it starts becoming a little bit more natural over time, you know? All right, let's read from Journey to the Heart. That was a good meditation. I like that. Don't let people put thoughts in your head. Respect the power of words and thoughts, both your own and others. This is kind of similar to what I was just talking about. This is from February 13th. Respect the power of words and thoughts, both your own and others. Our ideas and inspiration sometimes come from other people, come from outside us. But if we're not careful, it's easy for others to put their ideas and intentions into our minds, to cast their spells on us. You aren't very creative. Your heart isn't open. You're really not that healthy. You need me to succeed. You don't deserve success. In fact, you don't deserve ... How easy it is to be unaware of the process, to walk around with other people's words in our head, taking them as truth, taking them as our own, letting their ideas about us control our lives and our beliefs. We don't have to let others put their spell on us. We don't have to believe what they say. What are the words others have spoken to you? The spells they've cast on you and your life? What phases are echoing in your mind, and who do they belong to? Listen to what you hear, and if they are not yours, get them out. Words are powerful. Don't let other people put them in your head, and choose carefully the words you speak to them. So I talked about this actually extensively on my vlog last night. It's interesting this is the meditation for today. I talked about this extensively on my vlog last night, about how one of my favorite quotes in life is from Pretty Woman. And it's when Richard Gere says to Julia Roberts, "You're beautiful." And they're like laying in bed. And she says, "The bad stuff is harder to believe, is easier to believe. When somebody tells you something about yourself long enough, you start to believe it." And I think that that is such a true statement in life, that for years and years and years, I had people say things to me, especially through bullying when I was growing up. You're not good at, basically what they were saying to me is, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're not lovable, nobody cares about you. And I turned that into a tape that I overplayed and played and played and played in my head. Even when they weren't there to say it to me, I was saying it to myself. And that's a really, really dangerous thing. That's years and years. And then after that, getting into abusive relationships where people basically, by the way they treated me, said the same things. You're not worthy, you're unlovable, you don't care. With my mother's drinking, even though I knew my mother loved me, there were moments that I felt, you're unlovable, you're not worthy. I prioritized alcohol over you. I felt like everybody in my life had prioritized other things over me. And so then that fed into, why am I not good enough to be prioritized? Why don't I matter? Why am I not as good enough as so-and-so over there? They get prioritized, or they get prioritized, but why don't I? And those were things I kept inside for a long time, and then drank and drugged over, you know? And then even after I got sober, still dealt with those feelings because the alcohol and the drugs muted it for a long time, and had to work through all that through inventory and through other things and therapy, and had to really work through all that stuff, you know, of, well, is there any truth into me feeling unworthy or me, you know, whatever? I don't buy into that shit today. I just don't. I'm not buying into the negativity today. One of the things that, you know, has been such a realization of mine the last couple years, obviously, is that we are here but for a very short time. You know, none of us knows when our last day is going to be here. None of us. And I am not willing to spend my time believing the negativity or the hatred or the whatever, the put downs, whatever you want to call it. Okay. The criticisms, the critiques, whatever of somebody else. I'm not playing into it anymore. I'm focusing on the people that like me, and those people that love me and like me. It's different when you hear a criticism from somebody that doesn't like you, and it's different from hearing a criticism from somebody that does like you, or somebody that puts their thought into it. I'm not listening to the crap from negative people anymore. I don't have negative people in my life. I'm not listening to it, you know? I love the whole theory that is based on the poem, that Cassie poem. It's called Let Them. The Mel Robbins book. I actually just bought it last night. It's been on my list for a while, about the whole idea of that, you know, people are going to treat you like they don't love you, and people are going to walk away from you, and people are going to talk shit about you or have negative feelings about. Let them. You know, and then the lesson that you learn in return is, you don't really want them in your life anyway. So let them think those things. Let them feel that way. Let them walk away from you. Let them show you who they really are. Let them show you their true colors, you know? Let them do those things, and people will speak loudly to you. Years and years and years ago, I started setting limits and boundaries with people. I was like, I'm setting limits and boundaries. Like, I'm not allowing toxicity and negativity into my personal life anymore. I'm just not, you know? I mean, I think on any kind of professional level, or you're going to have to always deal with a little bit of that somehow, you know? And if you're, you know, involved in some organization or something like that, there's always going to be a little bit of negativity you can't. But in my personal life with friendships and relationships, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And, you know, it's interesting because every once in a while, there'll be like, and I'm sure that people in my life, I mean, you know, to be able to see toxicity and negativity, you have to realize the times that you've been toxic and negative in your life as well. And I'm sure I have been to other people, and I try to work on that to be a better person today, because I don't want to be that to somebody else. But every once in a while, somebody that I have set a pretty strict boundary with, typically I don't really talk to them anymore. And I won't just be like, I'm not ever talking to you again. I mean, there's numerous conversations that lead up to that point, right? But it's interesting because, like, it'll be like once a year, and somebody will pop up and they'll text me or they'll call me. And for a moment, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to talk. And I forget. Like, I forget everything. I forget the put downs. I forget how they, like, never showed up for me, how they weren't there for me, how they were selfish. I mean, I forget that it was never a reciprocal relationship and how bad I felt inside that relationship. I forget that for a moment. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, I want to reach out and call them and text them. And for a moment, I think everything is going to be okay. For a while, it was hard for me because I'd have to, like, kind of work through it. Today, I'm just like, because once I open that door, it is so much harder to get it closed again. It is so much harder to get closed. I have a very small circle in my life, but the people that I have in my life, I know my family and friends, I know they love me. I know they care about me. I love them and I care about them. I show up for them. They show up for me, and we are ride or die. And that's all I need to know. You know, that's all I need to know. Anyway, those were great meditations. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.